Hi, Dave McCoy, editor, New Zealand Trucking Magazine. This week we got the opportunity to have an interview with the new Minister of Transport, Michael Wood, at his electoral office in Auckland. And hopefully it's the first of a number of interviews we'll be able to do with him over the time that he's Minister. And you'll see we started this one with some philosophical questions just to give us a standpoint on where he sits, because as we all know, particularly in the associate ministerial role last time, we didn't really have the greatest of what you'd call a sympathetic supporter for the road transport industry. So I think it's important for us to understand early on where exactly Michael sits. And so quick fire sort of interview with him. I hope you enjoy it, and I hope it's the first of a number we can do.
Hello Michael, and thanks very much for your time.
G'day Dave.
Very much appreciated.
Welcome to Mount Roskill.
Cool, yeah, oh, thank you very much, and what a lovely afternoon. I bet it's always like this. So I just want to kick off first with, from my point of view, and the reader's point of view and the viewer's point of view. I'm going to ask you a really basic first up question. And as a citizen of New Zealand, what's your impression of the road transport industry as citizen New Zealand?
Oh, look, trucking plays a really important part in our economic and social structure in New Zealand. It helps us get goods from A to B. Over 90% of the goods that are transported in New Zealand do come through trucks within our broader freight system.
Yep.
So it's absolutely essential to how we go about and live our lives. Like any sector, it faces some challenges and opportunities as well in a changing world. So we've seen in COVID how important that connectivity is. But we know that there are challenges around making sure we've got an adequate supply of drivers, some of the standards within the industry, and that big looming challenge, not just for trucking, but pretty much for everyone, around the drive towards decarbonisation. So an incredibly important sector and lots of issues for us to be working on in the next few years.
Okay, interesting. Thank you. The transport portfolio, was it something that you put your hand up for, or something that you were given?
It was something I really wanted to have.
And why is that?
Oh, look, here we are in the middle of Auckland,
Yeah.
and I'm an Aucklander born and bred, and so the issues of transport policy and whether we get it right or not, I can see as well as anyone how that affects people's lives.
Yeah.
And one of the things I've learned very quickly in this portfolio is everyone has a view on transport, because everyone is affected by transport one way or the other.
Yep.
And so it's one of the ways that we can improve New Zealand's economic performance. It's one of the ways that we can improve the way in which our cities and our regions work. It's one of the ways that we can improve our environmental outcomes if we get the policy right and work together. So it's just a hugely interesting space. There's a lot of problem solving to be done there, and I'm always interested in that as well. But I think if you look at the core things we're trying to achieve, they're things most people would sign up to. You know, making our cities and regions move better, moving freight around more effectively, saving lives, and that big challenge of decarbonisation. So if we can agree around those goals, it's a very exciting challenge to work out how we get from A to B.
Yeah, it's a very
that attracts me, that kind of problem solving. I think we can do it.
Yeah, absolutely. It's a very dynamic portfolio indeed. More than 93% of freight is moved by road. And at a time when the infrastructure in terms of the regional state highway networks are deteriorating faster than I've ever witnessed, and many of my truck driver and industry friends would form a body of support on that without any too much prompting. How do you plan to address that in the context of road freight being an absolutely key component of our climb out of the COVID economic situation?
Yeah, well, look, what we've inherited is a pretty long period of neglect across many of our regional roads. In the last term of government, we've started to put the additional funding into the GPS in the category of road maintenance. So that pretty much flatlined under the previous national government. We've increased it significantly. We're renewing 60% more of those regional roads that were being renewed by the previous government. So we started making progress there, but there are a hang of a lot of roads in New Zealand. So we've just got to keep that up. And that's one of the things I'm committed to as Transport Minister, that as we add new projects into the mix, and that is a part of what we're doing, that we don't forget about looking after what we've got. And I can tell you that in my inbox every single day I get very much alerted to every single state highway where there are these issues. And I'm going to keep working with Waka Kotahi NZTA to make sure that we're keeping on top of that maintenance program.
Okay, excellent. We live in a low inventory, high product variance, high demand expectation society. As a Transport Minister, how do you see your role in terms of educating the public on the importance of road transport and helping defeat somewhat of a pariah status that we often have in the community.
Yeah, well look, I think it's a real shame and wrong-headed thinking if people are putting the trucking industry, thinking of the trucking industry in that way. As we've discussed, a huge amount of our goods get to market and get to customers because of this industry, and that needs to be acknowledged. You know, one of the areas I think maybe we need to talk through a bit more with people is the way in which transport does work together. I am a minister who believes that you don't just look at one part of the transport system, you look at the whole chain from A to B. And so I want to build up a system in which we have all of the modes, be it trucking, be it rail, be it coastal shipping, working together really effectively. We haven't always done that well in the past, and I think as we transition to doing that, we need to make sure that people understand what it's all about. It's not about running down any one sector, it's about getting things to work together well.
Okay, cool. So I'm going to move into a couple more mechanical questions now, just to sort of finish off. Well, the overall benefit from EVs might be beyond that of pure road user charges from the point of view of a societal benefit. As they increase, there's going to have to come a time where they stump up for their proportion of the use of the roads. How do you see that progressing over time with adjustment of the thresholds that are in place now? And in particular, next year we will see the first hydrogen heavy trucks arrive. Are they going to get any benefits in terms of cost in order to build their numbers quickly, or how's that dynamic all going to work going forward that you see?
I think we're in quite an exciting transition period here, and so in the short term, we as a government are committed to, in the right ways, making sure that there are good incentives for people to get into the electric game, that the benefits are really significant of that. But obviously, as we get to be more successful with that, as you rightly point out, there's an impact in terms of how we fund land transport. So we have got the Ministry of Transport beginning the early scoping work on what potentially the options are in the future for how we adequately fund the sector if we're moving away from vehicles that you can easily collect federal ruck on. So that work is ongoing, and we're going to have to make sure that we continue to fund the sector adequately and that people do pay their fair share. So that's work that will continue. And you're right about some of the really exciting opportunities around hydrogen. We do want to make sure that where the technologies are proven and they're coming through and they're effective, that we're supporting them really adequately as well. And hydrogen is very much part of the thinking there.
Okay, excellent. Thanks very much. And just one last one on our quickfire interview with the new Transport Minister. What will the Minister do to advance the review of the driver licensing that was first proposed more than 4 years ago, and at last contact was said that it's been handed on to the new government for progression once they arrive?
Is it one of those pass the parcel?
Yeah, it was pass the parcel one, yeah.
I've got to tell you, it hasn't been passed on to me yet in my initial briefings from officials that I've been in the thick of for the past couple of weeks. Look, I'll be honest, it's not something that's immediately on our work programme right now. I do understand from the sector that there's a view that we need to make some improvements there to make it simpler and easier for people to get into the industry. We've got some of those driver supply issues. It's not immediately on the work programme, but it's something I'm prepared to keep a really open mind about and to work on in the future.
Excellent. Fantastic. Hey, quick fire interview. We hope we can do more of them and keep our readership and our viewer base connected with you. Feel free to use us for whatever you want to use us for in terms of communication, and thanks so much for your time. It's been
Excellent. Appreciate it.
Awesome.
Cheers.
Thank you.